Words can work miracles. Words are powerful. Words are almost godlike. In fact, ancient script says the Word was God. God was the Word. Wow, words and God. What if somebody can't possibly see how they could do well, how they could become successful, how they could transform their lives and their health, their future, and their finances, spiritually, and every other way? They can't see, and you come along and share your story, and maybe borrow some other stories. And by the time you get through with a good presentation to this person, they say, now I can see. Before you got here, I was blind. I was in the dark. And while you were talking, some things dawned on me. Is it possible to create light with human intelligence, with words? And the answer is, of course, of course. Here's part of the spectacular opportunity as a human being. One person talking to another. It's got so much power, so much potential. Nothing more magical and powerful, awe-inspiring than words have the ability to dramatically affect people's lives and futures. So become a good communicator. Let me give you some good keys to good communication. Here's number one. Have something good to say. Communication starts with preparation. Getting ready to speak this year. Getting ready to speak next year. Attend the classes. Read the books. Have something good to say. Here's 4 good words to help you to have something good to say. One is interest. Develop a new interest in people and life, what's going on, economics and politics, religion, social structure, possibilities, opportunities. Develop a new interest. Here's the next word, fascination. Goes that step beyond interest. That's why kids learn so much that first 6 years. Fascination. Adults are walking on ants. Kids are saying, don't walk on these ants. I'm studying these ants. I'm looking at these ants. Kids are so fascinated. How come an ant can carry something bigger than he is? Wow. That's how come they learn so much. They're fascinated. And here's another little clue I've learned. Turn frustration into fascination if you can. You'll learn more. I've worked on this. I'm pretty good at it. Out in Los Angeles, I'm on the freeway. My airplane leaves in 45 minutes. The traffic is moving not 1 inch. I am now fascinated. I'm telling you. Now, it doesn't work every time. That's true, but every time it does work, I'm telling you, you'll come away with more. Learn to be fascinated instead of frustrated if you possibly can. Turn that little scenario on for yourself. Next is sensitivity. You've got to understand, we use the phrase where people are coming from, where they've been, what's going on. Sensitivity training is so important. People not like you, people that have got challenges and problems and difficulties. You've got to do your best to be sensitive to other people, where they find themselves, the pit they might be in currently, what's going on. Be sensitive to that. If you really want to communicate well, you've got to be touched and moved. Not just by your own drama of life, but by the drama you know is going on in other people's lives. Sensitivity. The last word is knowledge. You just got to go through exercises like this. Take the notes, work hard, roll up your sleeves, go to work. Gather the knowledge in journals, gather the knowledge in notebooks, gather the knowledge in a library and cassettes and videos and every other means. Gather knowledge. Don't be lazy in learning. A major part of communication is preparation. Now here's the next part of good communication. Say it well. One is having something good to say. Number 2 is saying it well. Let me give you a quick list on saying it well. Number 1, sincerity. Best place to start if you want to communicate well is let your sincerity show. Next is repetition, the mother of skill. I've been at this 33 years. Somebody says, well, you give a pretty good seminar. I should. 33 years? Repetition. Next, brevity. Sometimes you don't need many words if you're totally sincere, I'm telling you. Jesus' presentation in gathering up his team called disciples was fairly short. He just walked around the countryside, took a look at somebody and said, you follow me. That's brief. I mean, that's short. Now, why could he get by with such few words? And This takes care of a lot that I've tried to share with you today called personal development. Here's why I think Jesus could get by with such few words. For all that he was that he didn't have to say. Take that scenario home. For all that I am that I don't have to say. Just a few words can be dynamic and affecting someone else's life. Next, vocabulary. Got to work on your vocabulary. Some of my friends took a survey among prisoners working on some rehabilitation program. They weren't particularly looking for this, but here's what they found. There's definitely a relationship between vocabulary and behavior. And here's what they found out. The more limited the vocabulary, the more tendency to poor behavior. And when you think about it for a while, it makes sense. Words are a way of seeing. And if you don't have a good vocabulary, you can't see very well. Can you imagine the mistakes in judgment when you can't see very well? Next, words are a way of expressing what's going on in your head, what's going on in your heart. What if you can't see well and you can't express well? You can imagine the tragic scenario of 5 years of that, 10 years of that, 20 years of that showing no improvement. Behavior now becomes a major problem. And that person's world gets smaller and smaller and smaller. Why? They can't see and they can't express. I'm asking you to stretch your vocabulary. Why not add to your vocabulary so you can see more, see better, and express better? Put out in words what's in your heart, what's in your soul, what's in your mind. So say it well. Here's number 3. Number 1 was have something good to say. Number 2, say it well. Here's number 3. Read your audience. Read your audience. If you're talking to a child, you've got to study the face of the child. You've got to study a little body language. You've got to study what's going on. So you'll know whether to shift gears, come on a little stronger, ease off a little, might be too strong, search for another illustration, soft, strong. A lot of that is dictated by reading your audience. When I first started lecturing, I had some challenges here. I didn't know what was going on down here. I didn't know what was going on over here. I didn't have any idea what was happening over here. Whether I should come on a little stronger, ease back. I didn't know. I couldn't read my audience. So, read your audience. Now let me give you some ways to read. Number 1, by what you see. Body language tells us something. How to shift gears, whether to go on, whether to stop. If you're talking to somebody and they're leaning towards the door, that means you gotta hurry, right? They're not gonna be here long. Body language. Guy's got his arms folded, chin tucked down. You got your work cut out for you. You're gonna have to reach deep in your bag. Find some extraordinary stories. This one's not gonna be easy. What tells you that? Reading what you see. Here's the next one. Read what you hear. You've got to read a child's impatience. Kids don't mind telling you whether they're bored or impatient. Kids' attention span is short. That's why you got to get it said. You start talking to a child, 30 seconds they say, how long is this gonna take? Whoa! Read. Listen. Listen for the response. Now you'll know whether to shift gears, change your language, find a new illustration, soften, stronger. Read your audience. Read what you see, read what you hear. Here's one of the most important. Read what you feel. Now, women are probably better at this than men when it comes to picking up emotional signals. What if you meant to say to someone you care about? What if you meant to say, what's troubling you? And instead you said, what's wrong with you? Communication. So read the emotional signals. Women have this uncanny antenna picking up this stuff. Woman says, doesn't feel right. I mean, what does that mean? It doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel right. It's built in, I think. Ancient scenario says this: there are shepherds and there are sheep and there are wolves. What a good life scenario. But it doesn't stop there. This ancient scenario says also, some wolves are so clever, they've learned to dress up like sheep. Now you got to have a woman. Got to have a woman. Man says, looks like a sheep, talks like a sheep. Woman says, ain't no sheep. Take my word for it. They know. Read. Pick up the signals. Don't ignore the signals. Develop this personal development scenario, communication, financial independence, and all the rest.